We are back. Part two of the Do Live Marketing Show, live from Stone Fruit Coffee, presented by Lift Marketing. We are with Mr. Jiu-Jitsu, also known as Mike Mihas. Or is it the other way around? Mike Mihas.
I don't know anymore. I don't know. Some people call me Mr. JJ, Jiu-Jitsu guy. Or
Mike's growing a Facebook following over 185,000 followers, and we're going to get into that in his shadow ban. Trolls that follow you and completely complain about some of the posts that you make, but I really enjoy the posts that you make on Facebook. But we were talking in part one, we're going to carry over in self-defense. Everybody should be able to figure out a way to protect themselves, and we were talking about concealed carry. And I was just saying that that when I'm out, I'm looking for exit strategies and exit places, and it's the thing that you didn't have to think about 30 years ago. Like when you were growing up, yeah, there was threats of danger. A lot of times it was going to end up being some sort of fight, but it was not what it is today. So you're a big advocate for concealed carry.
Well, we come from an era where when we did get in a fight, we would actually shake hands afterwards. We wouldn't go online, make a post. We wouldn't go buy a gun and shoot up the school afterwards. We got in fights, and we shook hands afterwards. It was just, now we're in a whole different era where if you even threaten me, now I might come back and shoot you. Now I might come back and blow up the school. It's gone into a whole different level. I don't know, because maybe guns are more accessible, or I don't know what it is. It's just things have changed, especially when I can go online and bully someone, and then everyone's shocked afterward that kid comes in and shoots up the school. The advent of this thing right here has done so much for safety. It's also done a lot of bad stuff. But when it comes to self-defense, especially I ride parents pretty bad, I tell parents that you are your child's first line of self-defense. Like to my children, I'm the policeman, I'm the fireman, I'm the doctor, I'm the provider, I'm everything. So as a parent, it's our duty to be not a master of those things, to know a little bit. Every parent should know first aid and CPR. Every parent should know the basics of self-defense, how to control someone. Every parent should know some basic physical training. You don't have to go be a bodybuilder. No one's saying you need to go win the next CrossFit Games. But can you pick up your kid if your house is on fire in the middle? Can you pick up your kid and run it to safety? Can you do those basic things? Can you go up a flight of steps without gasping for breath? If you can't do those things, right, then you're physically out of shape. And when I tell people they're physically out of shape, I don't tell people. I go. If you're physically out of shape, you can't do these things. People are like, well, you're fat shaming. I've never called anyone fat. I get accused.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I
get accused of that all the time.
Your post in my head.
And people automatically like, oh, this is the guy who goes online and calls people fat. So I tell people all the time, if you find one post where I called someone fat, I'll delete the page right now. And they're like, oh, you're right, you never called it. I just say, when I say someone, you should be physically fit. It's a self-assessment. That's all it is.
Do I have any of your posts on I screenshotted a handful, but I will say this. So I ran a bunch of marathons in my 30s. I picked up a running habit when I lived in New York City. Been a lifelong mountain biker. At 48, me and my two boys, we just got back in October. We rode 50 miles in like 3 days of hardcore mountain biking in the woods elevation. So I do what I can to stay healthy. Typically, I go for about a 5-mile walk every day. Return phone calls, walk the dog. But I read your posts. And COVID hit our house in November. And you know what? We take our vitamins. We're healthy. So, we got through it pretty quickly. And so nobody's vaxxed. We're believers in choice of, if you want to wear a mask.
I'm not vaxxed either.
Or if you don't, right? How you decide to go through it is your business. But I read your posts. And I read your posts like, when you played team sports and the coach came in the locker room and he's bitching at everybody to be like, you need to buckle down, try harder in the second half. And you'd be like, damn, I'm giving everything I got, but okay. Usually that coach wasn't talking about you. It was talking about like 5 of your lazy teammates. But you'd be like, oh, I got to work harder. So when Mike is posting on his Facebook page about parents and dads being out of shape, I'm reading that going, damn, he's right. I need to get in shape, and never offended. Right?
I'll get some trolls. Most of the time, people will message me and be like, "Dude, you're right."
Yeah.
They're like, literally. I was sitting with my kid yesterday, and we were playing catch outside, and I couldn't breathe. just throwing the ball. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so it's all. No one says you need to go run a marathon. You don't need to become. It's just basic. Can I pick up my kid right now? I get in a car accident and I need to rip my kid out of the car. I need some basic physical strength.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm sitting on the couch every day, these are weak. These have become remote control pushers and beer drinking things. They're just
Yeah.
you need some resistance. You need to sweat a little bit. It's just like, yeah, I'm a little extreme. I do jiu-jitsu every day. But you don't need to do that. Just some basic stuff. Stay in shape. Watch your diet. Some basic stuff. Especially when you have young kids. Not when your kids are 6 or 17. Tell people once your kids can fend for themselves.
Yeah.
You want to go back and do it. Be a
Hopefully,
lazy piece of shit. I don't care.
hopefully they're
But when you have
putting-
kids that depend on you, it's your obligation. When you have children that you brought into this world, it's your not just financially. You need to physically be able to take care of your kids too. These two things: financial and it's physical. Everyone thinks that it's like I put a roof over my kid's head. They eat 3 square meals a day. They have whatever they want. I take care of my kids. I don't think it ends there. Personally, I don't think it ends there because
Right.
when the shit does go down, you need to protect your kid, not just from an attack or some basic emergency. And you can't physically do it. That kid's gonna remember that.
Yeah.
And it's your duty to protect them.
Yeah, no,
That's what I look
absolutely.
And
the
if
way-
you can't protect them, maybe you should stop having them.
the analogy that I give is that my kids were like Leo's age and he's 4, so I got a 4-year-old. So I was like, you know what, I got a long way to go. Like I really got to make sure that I stay in shape because I got a long way to go. That's the number one way, by the way, to prolong your life is to be healthy, to work out, right, to have exercise.
But you be careful saying that nowadays because you could be labeled for saying anything with health. You could be labeled a racist now if you try to be healthy. You could be labeled one part of some political government if you're.
Yeah,
you're
siding.
being healthy.
You're right. Watch what you say. But so I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, so when they were young, I was like, I had to wipe them when they go to the bathroom because they're still too little. I'm like, but one of these days you're going to be wiping my butt when I get older. And they're like, I don't get it, Dad. I'm like, you will one day.
Yeah.
So right now, I got to pull my kid out of the car. I got to pull my kid out of the house. But like, there's one day that I have this full expectation that I'm at 95 years old. Hopefully, I'm that guy that I'm still in good enough shape. But if not, my kid better be physically able at that point that had that life lesson to pull me out.
Exactly. So I tell parents all the time, like, there's a video I made of like, should you make your kids do martial arts? And a lot of people got offended that I tell them that you make your kid brush your teeth, right? Right? Because you don't want his teeth falling out. I don't think your kid's gonna be mad at you years later down the road that you made him brush his teeth. Now he doesn't have to pay all this money for expensive dental work. None of that. You make your kid go to school. A lot of these kids, when they wake up in the morning, I feel like we still make them go to school, right? We still want them to read or write. We still want them to clean their ass. We still make them do these things.
Yeah.
Not because we're bad parents, not because we're pushing trying to live through. These are basic, and I feel self-defense is a basic necessity for children. I feel like years down the road, they're gonna be mad that they know how to defend their children now. That if someone came up to their son or their child and said, hey, this kid pushed me at school, what do I do now? What do I attack? Basic self-defense. So I feel like martial arts education should be involved in a kid's life from a young age. It's just like brushing your teeth, just like learning to read. You should know the basics of self-defense.
Yeah.
I feel like all those things it's part of education. The Greeks, the ancient Greeks made all the kids do combat. The Spartans did combat. And it was part of their education. It actually with the Greeks, it was before education, was physical combat. You had to know how to fight. You had to know just the basics with weapons. I think it's at a young age, exposing kids to this, it's going to help them in the future. It makes them aware. It makes them aware that, okay, it's not all puppy dogs and flowers. There is violence in life,
right?
And how you expose it to them. I'd rather have, like I said, like with parents, when a parent brings a child that's been bullied for martial arts, he's already been bullied. A girl has been raped. After that, she gets a taser, she gets a gun, she goes self-defense classes. We always do stuff after the fact. But when you're proactive, it makes your life so much easier. It makes you more self-aware. You're like, I'm not gonna be in that situation. I know what happens if I do this. I know if that guy touches me, I've been touched before. I know it's better to be proactive, right? It's always after the fact. It's always after a big shooting we want to get a gun. It's after.
Well, unfortunately, after a mass event is when you start having everybody comes out of the woodwork and wants to start having the conversations again about like how are we going to prevent the next one. And I struggled with that because our politicians walk in the buildings every day protected with metal detectors. They have a sheriff, we call them resource officers, because we don't want our kids to be institutionalized with a police presence at school. But the reality is, if you're a political figure, you can't walk in City Hall in Youngstown, Ohio, without passing through a metal detector. I'm not quite sure at this point why in a school that you wouldn't have to pass through some sort of metal detector and some sort of thing that actually makes an attempt to keep your kids safe at school.
I would take it one step further. It's like, if there's teachers who have a concealed carry license and are trained, why couldn't they carry their weapon?
Right.
You never hear of concealed carry people randomly killing people. It's always people who are untrained. It's very rare. If you look, I don't know this right now, the stats on people who are trained with guns, concealed carry, they got their license, very rare do they commit crimes. And if they do commit crimes, somebody was telling me that, like, so if you have your concealed carry, you can't drink alcohol. That's usually stuff like that they get in trouble with. It's no one's ever really, most people concealed carriers aren't usually committing crimes. So it's, if you have a concealed carry, the preacher at church, if he has a concealed, why shouldn't he have his gun? I see how much violence. You don't go walk into random churches and shoot people. It happens all the time. You see how much school shootings there are. Why should a teacher? I would feel comfortable if my teacher, if he had his license, I would be 100% on board with that. If the teacher had his weapon on him, because if he does get past the one cop that's at the front, who's left?
Right. No.
Now it's on the teachers.
Exactly.
Okay. Hiding under tables not going to stop a bullet, unfortunately. That doesn't happen in real life. So I would be okay with teachers arming themselves. So it's, and that's very controversial. It's very, parents hear that and they're like, you can't. You know, what if the teacher's in a bad mood that day? You know, I'm sure maybe with teachers, they would go above the 8-hour concealed carry course at Ohio. Maybe there's like a 1-week course if you're a teacher, right? That you do a psychological. I'd be on board with that. And I'm on board with that with handguns. I think that there should be more than the background check. I think there's nothing wrong with if they did if you check, especially with young people with guns, why not do a random check of their Facebook? I've noticed all these people that are doing they go to schools and shoot. There's always the pre-warnings on Facebook and social media. I'm not selling the guns to no one where I can't check his social media. There should be a little more to it.
Interesting aspect to that. So back a decade ago when I started my business, one of my second client, they had software that was basically, long story short, I was helping them break into healthcare, and they had a social media listening tool, and it was really advanced. It was even derived from government NSA type of being able to pull in data, what you tell it to listen to. You use very highly sophisticated natural language processing, all this sorts of stuff. So I got this idea okay, great, this is good for healthcare. Health hospital institution could basically set it up and they can see what their patients and their doctors, if anybody in the healthcare system's saying things about them on social media, it gives them an opportunity to manage it. But I said, wow, wouldn't this be interesting since a lot of these events start through social media? If I went to law enforcement and I sold them the social media listening tool there, or if I went to schools and universities and said, hey, you have this tool, this is where these things start. And the amount of red tape and bureaucracy that came along with that were 2-year deals. From the start that you'd have the conversation to the point where they'd oh, we get it. Because you should get that in conversation, number one. Where I say, look, I could set this up to listen for anything that's going on in this building that could be a potential detriment to everybody's safety.
But then you're infringing on someone's rights, privacy. So that's probably where the red tape comes from. This is the whole infringement part where it's
which is insanity.
Which, like I said, it's. I think if even once someone goes to social media and says, "Hey, I'm going to kill this guy," whether he was angry or not, that should be more than just a red flag. I think the FBI should go there. The local police should go there. That person needs to be you got to take everything serious. If you're, we all say a lot of stuff in anger, I'd kill that guy, But there's also right now. If there's a 16-year-old saying, I'm sick of these kids at school, that's the red flag right there. Right there, that's where the wheels need to start spinning. Right there. There's a 16-year-old saying he's sick of these kids at school. Well, what's the next thing? You don't know what's next. So I think you got to take a step further. And I think once a child makes any kind of threat, the gun's got to get out of the house. The guns. I don't care if something's got to happen. There's got to be a way to track those guns. If my child was to ever make a threat, there's guns. I should lose my guns. It sucks. I know, but there's got to be something. Once a child makes a threat, that he's going to hurt other children, and there's guns in the house, which is the most easily thing to take someone's life.
Yeah.
You know, it's something's got to be done.
Well, the responsibility, like we grew up. My dad hunted, so we grew up with like that healthy respect from day one. Like from the first memories that I can have of being a human being, like, you know, maybe 4 years old, you were 5 years old, you started with that education in the house that number one, like, this is off limits to you. And it was under lock and key in a gun case. But there was ongoing like education in our house. That's just the way that we were raised.
But then you also have a lot of people who are anti-gun, and I have nothing against people if you're anti-gun, but it's just everyone's anti-gun until they need a gun. It's look at these, especially the politicians that are anti-gun. They're guarded by people with guns, which is crazy.
It's
the most anti-gun people are guarded by people with guns.
It's the equivalent of a Hollywood superstar talking about being environmentally friendly and hopping on a G5.
It's insane.
Right? You don't live your own truth. 2 years ago, is it 2 years ago? So I did not have a gun in the house for a long time. But then 2 years ago, when the BLM riots were peaking up and they shut down Boardman, I called my mom up and I said, get my shotgun, I'll be over. And my mom's like waiting out in the driveway, you know, and
everybody was doing that.
Right? I was like, I live where I live, I'm a mile and a half from Target, from right where we live in Poland. And I said, this is absolutely, like, I am not going to be a victim here.
They boarded up Walmart and they boarded up their stores. Stores were closing down before anything happened.
Yeah.
So corporations knew what was going on.
So I was like, if they know, then obviously, and so you're right. Like, and I was like, you know, at that moment too, I was like, well, you know, this is really idiotic of me because we know where we live. It's in the limits, but it feels remote because we're on the Poland woods. There's just a ton of people that are always hiking on the trails, and also,
well, especially here in Poland, we feel safe here, but we're right by a lot of things that aren't safe. We're by a lot of areas that don't have the policing. They don't have the neighborhood watch. Not everyone's looking out. So we're in an area where you drive 5 minutes that way, it changes quick. It's just the dynamics. It's the reality of where we're at. You drive 10 minutes that way, it changes even quicker.
Yeah,
it's just how it is. It's just how it is.
And I don't know if like how long's a round in an MMA fight?
An MMA fight round is 3 minutes. I think it's 3 minutes. Or
when you fought.
Well, so when I fought, we had no rounds.
Okay, so
we used to fight until someone
was done.
Was done.
Some
like my last couple fights, they finally started using some time. They were 20-minute matches. They usually didn't go that far.
So if you ever, like, I used to do a basketball workout where I would do 3 minutes of shooting straight, and then rest at the free throw line. Then do 3 minutes of shooting. If you've ever done anything like that for 3 minutes at a time, you know, and so my point is that. Hopefully never in that situation, but if you have to call the cops and the amount of time that it takes for them to get at your house, 3 minutes feels like a lifetime.
So I actually made a post about that. So the average, if you Google, the average time is 9.5 minutes for the police to show up when they're called.
So what are you going to do in that 9.5 minutes?
So I tell people for 9.5 minutes, can you punch a heavy bag for 9.5 minutes straight? Can you run for 9.5 minutes straight? Can you hold another person, just wrestle them for 9.5 minutes straight? Can you do anything? Can you strain yourself for 9.5 minutes straight? Because that's what you're gonna have to do for 9.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And I tell people, if you can't do that for 9.5 minutes, you're out of shape. And that's where I tell people you're physically out of shape. If you can't do that for 9.5 minutes, that's it.
Well, so after COVID, I don't believe in resolutions. I got back in the gym, started working out more, lifting weights, getting stronger. But the funny thing is the byproduct of not just being able to do that. There's the mental aspect of it as well. The byproduct is that I've had very quickly 2 months of business growth because I pound so much on. I have 3 businesses that I'm running at one given time with multiple clients underneath them, and everything's so jumbled up here that taking a step back to actually work out frees up that creativity in that
Oh,
space.
that's amazing.
And then I'm all of a sudden I'm like now I grew my business, like doubled it because of the fact that I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Like grinding at the desk is just like, why? Like take a step back. That the mental aspect of it has been incredibly beneficial as well.
Oh, it is. It's big time. And like I said, the number one excuses with, especially with fathers, are I'm dead tired after work. I don't have time. Those are the two number one excuses, and they're legit excuses. I understand that, but like I said, once you have little ones, you have to protect. Those excuses don't count. Why can't you get up an hour early and work out?
Yep.
Why can't you go to bed an hour late and work out? Why, once the kids are done sleeping, you can't go in your basement, do some push-ups instead of shadow box, do something basic. It's just basic stuff. It's just we don't want to do that extra stuff because it's an inconvenience.
Nobody has the people don't have the same luxury that I do with having my own business, but then again, they don't know that they understand the sacrifice that's come along with that as well. To put myself in a position that at lunch, and a lot of people have lunch, but like instead of slobbing down food, I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna go take time. I'm gonna schedule time in my day, and I get it. You know, when you know people are working within a company or corporation, they have to play by those rules to a certain extent. But there's always a will. There's always a way.
There's always a way, and the same thing with you don't need to work out an hour straight. 20 minutes every night. Once the kids are go to bed, go down your basement, go get a heavy bag, go shadow box, do something, do some push-up, do something, make your body sweat, make your body exert something, and eventually you'll see on your own, you'll kick it up. You're like, you know what, I did 15 minutes yesterday, I'm gonna work out 20 minutes. You're gonna be your own motivator just by getting started. But you don't. A lot of people feel like they have to go all in. That's why a lot of people don't start like Jiu-Jitsu or working out or anything like that, because they feel like it sucks to start at the bottom, and nobody wants to be seen start at the bottom. Everybody would love to be ripped. Everyone would love to have martial arts. Everyone would love to be in shape. It doesn't work like that. You got to start at the bottom and slowly build up. That's the problem. Nobody wants to start at the bottom. That's the problem.
That's a microcosm of life in general now. You know, I'm trying to hire an entry level digital marketing person that it's a lot of blocking and tackling. It's not sexy work. It's the fundamentals of like the internet, and
nobody wants to eat shit. Nobody wants to eat shit
bitches.
anymore. Nobody wants to eat shit anymore.
My 10-year-old went out and shoveled a sidewalk. You know, the neighbor actually kind of called him, but he went out and he made $20, and he was happy as a clam. And I think when we get into now, like he was all smiles, look what I made. And I think, you know, people kind of get disconnected from, you know, where they come from and, you know, like maybe some of the struggles that, you know, came along with that. And now they've got a little bit of means, you know, talking like extremely wealthy, but they got means. They got $20 in their pocket. And it's nothing for them to float their kid a $20 bill instead of putting some self-worth into the kid and saying, hey, go out and make $20, go out and shovel a driveway and figure out how much that person's going to have to pay you and earn a little bit.
And they also they don't want to spend it that quick when they earned it either.
No, God.
My son makes 20 from shoveling, and 20 I gave him. My 20, he was like, I'm going to hold on to this one as a little more. It's which is a human reaction when you work hard for something. Cherish.
When you're not,
you're like, all right,
when you're getting
that $20 took me bending my back. You know, it's just daddy handed it to me, bent my back. So they spend it different too. So it's good. You have to show them the value of money.
Yeah, they do. So like, you know, the random, hey, can I get this? Can I download this video game? You know, right. It's like, well, how much is that video game? It's 10, 20, $40. It's like, well, you're going to go in your piggy bank and you're going to float me half of that. I don't know. I was thinking maybe you get it for me, Dad.
So sometimes what I do then is I make them do like a workout.
Yeah.
Guess what? We're gonna do
pay those bills in the workout.
We're gonna work out right now. We're gonna work out. And they're like, okay, all right.
Let's switch gears. And oh my God. So we've got a comment that Jeff DeLoma. Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRussa could easily take out Mr. Jiu-Jitsu and you, Dennis. Well,
100%, Jeff. 100%.
100% on the Dennis part. I don't think anybody though on the latter. I'm hiding behind Mike if that goes down. So 185,000. I think it's actually 187,000 followers on Facebook.
I'm not sure.
By design.
No. So how this page started was.
And by the way, my favorite post of the past week was, "This is my feed, so I really don't give a F what you think."
Yeah. No, because people are like, you shouldn't post it. I was like, you know what? I go, there's this crazy trick I do where I post whatever I want because this is my fucking page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your page.
Yeah. And it's weird. I go, it's weird how that works. So I can post whatever I want.
Right.
So it blows people's mind. So, well, a lot of people think like a company's running the page. There's no way you have that many followers. There's got to be like, there's some business to it. Like it's just me. And more people are, it's a 48-year-old man in the middle of Ohio that's running this page. It's not some media company in New York that's running this. It blows people's mind. So when I first started with my company, I traveled a lot for work. I almost traveled every week. I have to go look at projects and, measure them and stuff like that. So I went from training every day where I had to travel now and I couldn't train every day. So I would show up to random gyms. I would be in Chicago and I would just walk into a jiu-jitsu gym. And a lot of people knew me from back in the day from competing, but not that it's hard just to walk into a gym.
Okay.
It's hard to find gyms. So I was like, I'm going to start a page on social media where every time I go to gym, I'll take a picture with the gym.
Okay.
And let people know, hey, I'm going to be in New York City. I'm going to be in Manhattan Saturday at 9:00. Anybody want to train? So that's why I originally started the page. And the page, and I started an athlete page. And I didn't want to say Micheal Mihas on the page. Well, that sounds kind of douchey. I'm not an athlete. I haven't fought since '99.
Yeah.
So a nickname they gave me when I was young, because I wouldn't stop talking about jiu-jitsu, was they would go, all right, Mr. Jiu-Jitsu. So they only called me a few times. That's where I got the name from. I'm not that smart to come up with Mr.
It's a rhyme or anything.
It's not. I'm not a creative person when it comes to stuff like that. So I had the page for about maybe 6 months, and maybe it had like 50 followers.
Yeah.
And I'm posting it, and then one day, I don't know what city I was in. This guy said he was going to come meet me to train. He didn't come. And I got pissed, and I ranted about it on the page. Well, I wake up the next morning, and like 100 people had shared my rant. They're like, yeah, I hate when I do that. Someone promises they're going to work out, and they know I'm going to be at work at 9:00, and the guy didn't show up. And like they connected with that. I was like, that's weird that I wrote something specific about a person.
Yeah.
And all these people shared it. And next thing I know, the page had like 300 likes. Like, I don't know who these people are. And then a couple months later, I complained again. And then people started sharing it. Oh, like I think just like you. I'm like, I hate when I hate it, And so I was like, I'll just share my random thoughts of like stuff that I interact, and then it just started. People would send messages like, dude, I think just like you. I'm too embarrassed to write that. And and the thing would just start like from like 50 followers, like within like 10 months, I had like 10,000 followers, and then it just kept growing.
Yeah.
And growing. And I thought it was kind of weird. I'm like, I'm not really that most interesting of a person.
Right.
And it would just but people were connecting because everything I talked about was.
I think it's
real life.
Everything
was real life I was talking about.
Well, it's real. It's authentic. It's who you are, right? And so you're not afraid to share. I said when we promoted the show, unapologetically, that's who you are.
And I don't think I'm talking about anything controversial. Parents being ashamed to protect their kids is not something controversial.
Sure.
I make fun of pedophiles. I don't think that's controversial. That's got me shadow banned currently. I'll make like basic things. It's like people complain about guns until their child could have used the gun
right.
close to them to save their life. I don't think any of that stuff I'm saying. I don't talk about, I get accused of being fat phobia, transphobia. I don't talk about any of those things, but I'll post some things. Like there was a video I posted, I don't know if you saw it, a couple weeks ago. There's a mother had taken her child, won't give the gender, to a party where there were 5 older men that were dressed in dresses, and the child was dressed in a dress. And I have nothing, whatever you think your gender is, whatever you think you are, that's fine. But I don't think it's okay to take a young minor child and have older men grope him, hug him. I think that's bad parenting to me. That's not, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're straight, gay, trans, whatever you are. No matter what kind of parent are you, don't bring your child around strange men and let them grope and touch. And then that's probably another reason I got shadow banned. That's basic. That's just basic parenting. It has nothing to do with what the parent believes or whatever the child believes what they are. It's just basic parent. Doesn't matter you're straight, gay, doesn't matter who you're. I don't care if you're a gay parent, you have 2 kids. You should protect your child. If you're a father who believes who they feel that they're a woman now, you still need to protect your child. Doesn't matter what you believe you are. Your child's safety comes first and foremost before your political beliefs, before your wokeness, before anything. The child comes first. And I think that got me shadow banned. So
Are
you
you on?
can't talk about those things.
Are you currently on probation with Facebook?
So what they sent me an email that, so everything I post, only like out of every 100 people, only one person can see it of my followers. So it's very low. Like if I post something within an hour, I get like 1,000 likes. Because now if I post something, I'll have 1,000 likes by the next day. So it's
Have you noticed? Yeah. So like,
well, people brought it up to me about shadow ban. I didn't really, until you go on like if you go on Instagram and look up Mr. Jiu-Jitsu, you have to type in my whole name, Mr. Jiu-Jitsu, for me to even come up. You used to just type MR, and that'd be one of the first things that would come up.
Yeah, I couldn't find your Instagram account, so like,
they got me buried deep.
and you know, you could go back to, you know, you could go back and you could just Google like Facebook stock price and organic reach on pages and the direction that they've gone over the past decade to 12 years. And it is like 1 to 3% of your page will end up being able to see your post, but you were obviously in Facebook before a lot of that changed, and you didn't. You know, the way I look at it too is like we only got better at like the content and our delivery and all these things. It's Facebook's machine of not letting people see stuff,
which I understand. I understand the algorithm, how they attack.
But here's what's bizarre. And a guy that provides social media consultation and services to businesses and have built multiple businesses off of Facebook, you know, we've tried, right? We've tried what you've done just naturally, like progressing, is the amount of drivel that goes through social media platforms, and it continues to allow it to let it go through, but then this one area is censored, is like, right, is blocked, is that's a problem, and that's a problem.
Oh, it's a big problem.
It's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem. It's on Instagram, which I have to show you. So when I go on my Instagram, if anybody calls a pedophile sicko, Instagram hides it, and I have to physically unhide it. If you say all pedophiles should be hung, Instagram will hide that, and I have to physically hide. If you say anything negative, if you say, oh, those people are horrible, anything that's derogatory toward pedophiles or even criminals, if they think it's too far, Instagram hides it. And I have to physically go on there and press unhide. And literally, I'll go look, and they're like, hey, I can't see my comment. Why? And so people accuse me of hiding their comments. And I'm not hiding their comments. I have to go all the way to the bottom of Instagram, find their comments, and press unhide, so you can actually see their comments.
It's insane. You know, I have a friend of mine, you probably know, that owns Trading Station Fit, Angelo Barbero, and he's very outspoken about how the government and their pushing of the vaccine and of that through how managing through COVID, right? And that's just the one, and the pharma industry and the whole machine that's behind that, right? And he's out saying like we should be promoting health and vitamins and healthy lifestyle as much or more.
I can't say that.
Right?
That's a big no-no.
Than this. And we talked about it, of how much he has seen a decline by design of clamping down on his social media, and to the point where he had his personal versus his business, and separated the two because it would obviously hurt his opportunities with his business.
You can't bring up the word health anymore. You can't tell people to be healthy. The minute you tell someone to be healthy, you're automatically labeled anti-vaccine. That's crazy. By telling someone to be healthy, what does a vaccine have to be? What does a vaccine have to do with?
Let me tell you,
going on a diet or you being healthy. What is how did? Obviously, there's some connection where they're like, if you tell someone to be healthy, they might want to get vaccinated, and now you're anti-vax.
I'll tell you the one thing
that's crazy
that I so anybody that's lobbying for government and government control into the system needs to take a step back and take a really good look at things, because at around Thanksgiving, when COVID came to our house, for whatever reason, I knew I was sick. I got a fever. And I think 2 days later, because it was Thanksgiving, and it was probably only because it was Thanksgiving, I told my wife, I was like, hey, we probably should go buy one of these COVID tests at the store. I think my doctor, whose family was like, why don't you go get one of the tests and take one? So I was like, all right, we will. So we went to the store and we bought them. You know, we bought like 2 of them, and then like there's 2 per package, so we had like 4 tests, $60. Take it home, did the test, came out, it's positive. Did it the next day too, because we didn't believe the first one, came out positive again. It was almost
I
like
did the same thing.
it's almost like the pregnancy test when Joanna found out we were pregnant with our 4th child. That wasn't necessarily, it was by accident.
It's the COVID baby. We've all had the COVID baby.
We had 5. We got 5 pregnancy tests to see whether or not, right? So, so now you fast forward to a month to now. So suddenly the supply chain to all the pharmacies has disappeared. There's no COVID test that you could go buy at CVS or Walgreens where we bought ours. You can't do it. But suddenly there's people lining up around the block for the free tests that our government is now passing out. And you can't get them. You have to go wait, and people are complaining, well, I have to go wait in line at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, if you would just spend $30 a month ago, you could have bought that same test. Mm-hmm. And you want the government to come in and hand this to you when you don't really need it, right? You don't really need it. And they created this problem. And now we're in this position. Well, now they're gonna send them out to your house if you want them. They're gonna send them. And they took it out of like the ability. You could go to Walgreens literally in November and buy one. They took the supplies and they said, we now control the supply. And that's where we're at with everything when it comes to health, when it comes and you start to identify.
But nobody wants to do the get healthy part. Even with COVID, there's all these places for testing. How come why don't they push antivirals like that? Why don't they push the medicine to get better from COVID?
Sure.
Why isn't that being passed? Why isn't that being pushed? Same reason they're not pushing health. There's also a political agenda to it. There's a lot to it. There's a big thing to it.
We live in that society where it's diet versus lifestyle, and everybody wants to take the pill. So liposuction, do you want to do that? Or do you want to go just eat right and burn enough calories over the next year to 3 years to get the same result that you're going to pay the doctor for that visit? So that's
well, again, I've seen people have done that surgery, and they've gained the weight back on. I've seen people.
Have you ever watched?
And like you cut your insides of your body up. You put a fucking rubber band on your stomach, and then you put it all back on. It's just
if you and you know you're obviously you're very you fought. So there's a lot of fighters, a lot of people that had that repetitive stuff or getting hip and shoulder replacements like Tic Tacs, and I want to avoid all that as much as possible.
I'm pretty anti-surgery. I probably need like 30 different surgeries currently, but I just find ways around it. I don't push it that hard anymore. I don't do this that hard anymore. I don't. When I go to bench, I used to love putting heavy weight. Now I'm just like 245. It's just light weights. Even when I go roll, when I do jiu-jitsu, when I wrestle, I'm not going all out. I'm just doing enough to break a sweat, get the muscles tense. There's no reason for me to go all out. I need that one all out is when I really need it.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to save it up. I'm trying to save all my injuries for that one time. We're like, okay, now it's really go time. Make sure everything's still intact and we can go. I don't want to blow it in the gym and get hurt.
No. So, and if you've ever seen any of those surgeries, man, they're violent. Like there's hammering.
I've seen it.
It's disgusting. Yeah. So your Facebook page, and as a result of that, you have had, as a result of your Facebook page, and I'm not going to call it fame, but Facebook page, you get offers all the time.
Yeah, a lot of offers. Big money.
To buy out the Facebook page?
Buy out the page. Just when I post something, just can you put our company right here? And I think that's another reason why people follow me. I've never done that once. Yeah. I've never even asked people to share my page. I've never done like promotion like, hey, if you tag your friend and share this, well, I keep it so organic. I think that's why people follow me, because I've never once tried to sell anything. We sold a couple shirts on there where people have made me, and I haven't kept one penny. It's whoever makes the shirts, I let them keep the money. It's like a couple buddies of mine that were selling shirts or something. I'm like, if I do anything like that, I don't keep it. I just keep it all organic. I just do it because I enjoy the private messages more. It's probably the reason why I haven't deleted the page yet. I enjoy the private messages more. So I talk to people all over the world, and I've had to use Google Translator. A lot of people think I speak every language. I've had to use Portuguese, Spanish, people from Japan, Russia, and I'm like, hey, I don't live in Russia. I don't know if you think that. So I have to. Google Translator has become my friend over the years, just to get people. So it's just the personal messages I enjoy.
Yeah.
It's just every once in a while, like I said, out of every 1,000 people that don't like, I'll get that one dad like, you know what you said yesterday was right, man. I've been dogging it. I'm gonna start working out with my kids. I'm gonna start doing this.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. That alone
Keeps
makes
you
it worth
going.
keeping the page. I enjoy that.
Do you get offers to go speak publicly?
Yes, I get offered to do seminars. I get lots of.
Do you
offers.
decline?
I decline it. Like I said, I get offered to do a lot of podcasts, and it's just not my like when I make a post.
You're really good on a podcast, by the way. Like, I mean, it's great because like I sometimes like you get into doing this, and the other person on the other
Doesn't
end
want to talk.
it gives you like a one-word answer.
Yeah. Well, people know me. I don't shut up. So when I know, I don't keep this big rapper shut for too long. But the thing is, with the page, it's very organic, and the people I talk to is organic. I'll meet people sometimes at jiu-jitsu tournaments. I'll meet people at gyms. I'll meet people in different cities, and that's the fun stuff with the page. So I don't take it too serious. Like I said, I'll make a post, and after that, I'll come at night and look at the post again. And I'll see the dumpster fire that it's become.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So there was recently. I get put on Reddit a lot, and usually people are on me. And there was I just reposted. Someone had me on Reddit a couple days ago, and he said Mr. Jiu-Jitsu is the most cringe page in martial arts in the world, and people I don't know are defending me, which is what I love. People I don't know,
Which is even better.
Which is even better. People I don't know, people in like different parts of the world are like, people are like, that guy's never done anything. They're like, oh, here's a video of him competing. Here's a video. So it's just, I'm at the point now where people will defend me and I don't have to say anything. I don't go on the comments. I rarely, every once in a while I'll make a comment. And usually that becomes even a bigger dumpster fire. But then I feel bad afterwards. I'm like, man, I destroyed this guy for no reason. So I used to be bad at that. Somebody would say something about me, then I would go on their Facebook page and I'd start screenshotting. I'm like, oh, you can't train. I'm like, here's you skiing right now. Here's you doing this. Here's you doing that. And just.
Yeah, exactly.
So I stopped doing that because it just got too bad.
All right, here's what we're going to do. So I came up, Mr. Jiu-Jitsu, Mike Mihas, go to his Facebook page. He's for me. It's like the time that I recommended the movie Trainspotting to a bunch of blue hairs, and then they went and watched it. And if you know,
great movie, by the way.
Great movie.
I
think it was my mom. I told my mom it was a good movie, and I didn't expect her to go watch it. And then she's like, "You thought that was?"
It made me want to try heroin. I never tried heroin, but I was like, maybe heroin's not that bad after this movie.
So I came up with some posts. If I was Mr. Jiu-Jitsu, let's see if these make the page.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. Number one rule, if you're going to honk your horn at me in traffic, you better make sure that I'm someone you could beat up.
I've posted that before.
Oh, you did?
On my regular page, yeah.
Oh, my God. I hope I didn't subconsciously steal. I swear. I say that.
Well, a lot of my stuff I post are on big websites, and they'll just crop my name off. But I don't give a shit.
I've said this all the time. So when I lived in New York City, that was the infamous place. I worked on Long Island in outside sales for the first 9 months I was there, and I lived in Manhattan. And I would be in traffic in Long Island, and there were all these Long Island housewives that would always, like, the light would turn green. It's like you got to be a drag car racer.
Boom, on the horn. I know. I've been Long Island. Yeah.
And I've been like, look, okay, at a certain point, it's like, if you can't kick my ass, you probably shouldn't be beeping the horn. All right. I think less of men who wear diaper backpacks in public.
I like that one. I like that one.
So I noticed that there's a bunch of dudes wearing, like, so
purses. We could say purses.
They go to the grocery store.
Man purses.
I'm
like, say they're man purses.
They're at the grocery store for a half hour, and they put it's probably the first kid. So after 4 kids, you don't care anymore. But they got a thing for the seat, and they got the diaper backpack. I'm like, you're here for a half hour, bro. Like, take the purse off.
But now I'll tell you, I wouldn't, even though I won't wear a fanny pack. There's little fanny packs, whatever those things are.
Back in the day.
I get jealous. I'll be somewhere. I'm like, man, that would be just throw my wallet in there. I'm like, I'm not gonna wear it. I can't be seen wearing it, but I get jealous of it. I'm like, I'm gonna make fun of that guy, but I wish I could wear it though.
All right. All right. This next one. How controversial is this one? All right. This one. If you wear pajamas to the grocery store, you probably won't amount to much in life. Put some clothes on when you go out in public.
I like that one.
We went to Aqua,
Walmart special.
We went to dinner at Aquapazzo, and I look over, and like, it's a nice dinner out, and I look over and there's kids in ball caps, and like, I'm like, I don't know. Like Sebastian Maniscalco does a comedy bit. He's like, I go to a steakhouse. He was, I have to look over and look at some guy's hoof hanging out of a shower sandal. Like, I don't know. I just think that you should put some
That's
clean hygiene.
That's changed. Like that's another thing that's changed from our time. It's how we dress. It's like, remember, dads used to wear suits as a normal thing. Dads would go to the grocery store with suits. Coaches used to wear suits. It's changed.
My kid, this could be any sort of sport in this day and age. My kids say they're better than me at baseball at the same age. I said, son, you better be. All your coaches are ex-collegiate and pro baseball players. You have an indoor facility to practice year-round. You have a $300 bat in your hand. Your grandfather and his buddies coached us. They worked at the mill, smoked cigarettes. They dumped bats out of a bag. We had 4 helmets, so God forbid you didn't bat first in the inning, and oftentimes we shared a cup.
It's so true. That's so true. It's my son. They were telling me that there's an app where you put the bats. You put a thing on top of the bat, and you leave your phone to record as you're swinging, and it measures everything. It's like, what world is this?
We came home from snowboarding one time, and my kid was like, "Did Papa take you snowboarding when you were growing up?" I was like, "Yeah," and he dropped me off. He dropped me off at with my baseball coach to go hit in our indoor facility. And he's like, "Did he?" I was like, "No, you dummy! Like, no, we didn't. No, that wasn't it."
I don't see kids. Here's one thing: I don't see kids anymore playing backyard tackle football. I don't see it that much anymore. It's rare. I don't see it that more. I tell my kids that was my favorite thing to do. I came home from home. I was like, let's go play tackle. That was my favorite thing, was play tackle football outside. I don't see it anymore. A lot of these kids are in a lot of practices. They can't get hurt for their baseball practice, can't get hurt for soccer. But it was like, that's something every boy should be doing, tackling.
Yeah, get it out. Here's what I think about that, because it's so complicated with all the organized sports that are out there today, and our kids are always being organized, and coaches and adults are organizing them. And my concern is that if you're not going out and playing tackle football, or you're not making up a baseball game in your yard, and the creativity that, on the roof's a home run, against the windows and out, whatever the rules are of that field. And then, so I'm constantly pushing them to go do that. And then once they get doing it, they're doing it. And then there's fights, and there's conflict resolution, and there's leadership.
But now the problem is, when these kids get in fights, the mom goes on social media and makes a big shit about it. That's the problem now. We didn't have that back in the day. If Billy pushed Joey, that was it. They made up the next day. Now, if Billy pushed Joey, there's a meeting. We have to talk to the counselor. It blows up. It's parents' egos have become so fragile, and the only way they feel they can get back is to go and write a comment on Facebook, a nasty comment. That's how people get back now. That's how people fight now. People use this. This is how people fist fight now, by going on here and saying something nasty about someone. The worst is when you attack someone on here that doesn't have social media. Next thing you know, hey, did you hear about this? People were talking about you because you cut someone off at the lights and they took a picture of your car, or your kid bumped into this kid, and it's a one-sided story. It's insane. It's insane. And shame on some of these parents who are willing to go debase a kid on social media because of what happened with their kid without getting, go meet the parents, go have a one-on-one talk. But these parents, it's that pussification. Nobody wants to do this anymore. We're doing. Everybody wants a Zoom fight. I don't know how to say it. Nobody wants to do this anymore. No, everyone's afraid to look at someone in the eye and talk.
No,
everyone wants to put their head down and talk. That's it. It's just we become afraid.
I'm not skilled or trained to fight, but I'm very direct with people. I'm very direct. Like I just think
you have to be careful being direct with people.
And right?
You might offend someone. He's too direct.
I do. And I'm like, I'm okay. Like I'm not, and people are like confrontation. And no, it's like, I'm not afraid of, not confrontation, but like not just agreeing and being direct.
Nobody wants to stand up for their beliefs.
And like
nobody wants to stand up for their beliefs
anymore. And I'm willing to live with that. And it's just so funny how many people, like, I'll get a nasty email or a nasty text message, and I just hit the dial button. And that's not even face to face.
People freak out. They're like, people are like, oh my God, why is he calling? something's wrong. You know,
You
just,
called me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You just text me, so just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
What what's the problem? We can resolve this. Oh,
It's nice to be direct. I coach youth wrestling here in Poland, and every once in a while, I have a couple parents that they ride the kids pretty hard. They're upset with the kids. They're like, "You should have did this and that." So I tell the parents, "Hey, if you want to, we can wrestle afterwards." It's just to let the parents know the reality of, like, sometimes what we want our kids to do, you can't do. You've never done. So I let the parents know. Say, "Hey, you riding the kid pretty hard. If you," I was at a tournament. It was like 2 years ago. The kids were wrestling, and this dad was riding his kid so bad. And he shoved the kid against the locker. I go, "If you touch that kid again, me and you are about to wrestle."
Yeah.
And the dad literally, he went and called it. He went and got the police afterwards. He said I was threatening him. I was like, he just shoved his kid. I go, "You're coming after the wrong guy." I just told him that if he shoves his kid again, me and him are going to wrestle now on the mat. And
Yeah. It's and you know, I coach a lot of youth sports, and I commend you for doing that, because we know that it is a thankful job of what you give to the kids, and you see what they get out of it, and it's also a thankless job. I don't want to say for all the parents, because we focus on that one negative review, unfortunately,
always.
too much, and instead of the 100 positives. But there are a lot of parents that either vicariously they can't have an honest evaluation and opinion of their kid, or whatever or they want to continue to bubble wrap them and insulate them from failure, right? So the great thing about wrestling, the great thing about sport, is I can't bubble wrap my kid and prevent failure, right? My kid's going to strike out, and that's a good thing, because there's so many things in life that they're trying to make sure that they always succeed at. So when they do experience any type of failure, they don't know how to deal with it.
That's why I say it's, if you can control your child's failure now, it's going to help them in the long run. When you can't control, I can't. When my child fails at over 18, I won't be there. If something goes wrong, I can't help him. Right now, I can put him in a situation where he's probably going to fail. He's probably going to cry. He's probably going to get upset, but it's controlled. It's controlled. I can still go home and go, "Hey, we can work on this. We can work on this." Once you're 18, 19, and you make bad decisions, I might not be there. You might make a bad decision with the person you married, with a home loan, and you couldn't pay, with the job. I won't be there. If I can make you little micro mistakes now that I can control, I'm setting you up for a better future. So I'd rather they fail now. I'd rather they fail miserably. I'd rather they cry now, so they're not crying when they're 18, 19.
Yeah,
That's the way I look
absolutely.
at it.
Well, listen, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on. Mr. Jiu-Jitsu, go follow him on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thank you so much for being on the DOYO Live Marketing Show. We'll have you back anytime, man. This was we went much longer than when I thought we were going to go, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. And we're gonna repost this in its entirety, and we're also gonna break it up into pieces. We're live here at Stone Fruit Coffee. Thank you, Lift Marketing, for being a sponsor of DOYO Live, and we'll see you all next week. Sorry, I was running out of steam.
You're good. I know it's hard. It's hard when you start coughing and you got to get that big cough out.
That was really good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
We'll do better on the replay, but yeah, that was cool. Do this. Speaking of which,